Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. 5, 10, lights.
Welcome to the Deadlights podcast. I'm your host, Sam Johnston.
And I am Leslie, and we're bringing you your daily dose of, not daily, weekly, god fucking damn it.
Weekly.
That's the first time that I've messed that up. Your weekly dose of horror.
You've never done it before.
Nope,
No.
You're not going to edit that.
Nope.
We're
This is all staying in. And today we have my
Hello,
special
hello.
guest,
Hello.
friend, former coworker.
I thought you were going to say former friend for a second.
Former
I'm like,
Former
shit.
friend, current
All right.
coworker.
I just
All
decided
right,
former
a lot of
friend.
pressure on this
Yeah.
on this performance here, trying to work my way back into friend zone.
Good luck.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank
Here we
you.
go.
Ah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Antlers was legit. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess so. Yeah. What did we watch today?
I think he said Antlers.
Antlers from 2021, directed by Scott Cooper, written by Henry Chaisson, Nick Anacostia, and Scott Cooper. In an isolated Oregon town, a middle school teacher and her sheriff brother become embroiled with her enigmatic student, whose dark secrets lead to a terrifying encounter with an ancestral creature. In general, this movie is definitely dealing with domestic abuse, familial abuse, parental abuse, for sure, as a theme that's kind of going throughout this whole movie. And it's being told through this kind of magic disease, I guess, that's taking over this poor kid's father and brother.
Yeah.
And it's really examining the effects that abuse from parents have on children. That's like a big
It's
theme.
that good
Yeah.
generational trauma, you know? I mean, it's and
Right.
it lives on through this house that the woman Carrie Russell that she moves back into. Like it's fully enforced in her own life, even though it's happened so long ago, and the kid meanwhile is experiencing it.
Because we're seeing
Freshly.
her, the two main characters of the movie are this kid who's going through this abuse and this trauma, and this teacher who has gone through it and is recognizing the things that she went through and is trying to desperately help this kid and essentially save him from the things that she went through.
Yeah.
Which I really like that dynamic of the characters that they've set up. I think that it's a very important thing to talk about, and also a very real thing that they explored, which I appreciated this movie for
Yeah, that poor teacher. She, there's something about being abused in a household and having to, come back. And you really do create these spaces hold the feelings and the memories, you know? So she's having PTSD. There's a moment where she's, playing piano and she's remembering that her dad came over and started touching her, you know, as she's there.
Yeah.
So sick.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, her brother's going through it too. I mean, because it doesn't focus on Jesse Plemons, on the sheriff. We don't really see that, but I mean, he mentions that to Carrie Russell, you don't know what they did to him. So it's at least alluded to that you've got two people who are they're traumatized, and
I think it's great though having his character be, because through the beginning of the movie I was frustrated with his character because he was dismissing everything that she was saying and everything that was going on with the child. But then as things get more revealed about their past, I realized, holy shit, he's terrified that he's going to have to encounter something like he did encounter when he was a child. So he's trying to dismiss it out of fear, because he doesn't want to have to return to those thoughts and that trauma that he's already gone through. So he's just going to put, no, it can't be that. It can't be that. It can't be that. It's got to be, there's got to be some sort of explanation to this, that's not that. So I think it's a really good character dynamic that we have between the sister and the brother, seeing how each of them deal with trauma differently.
Yeah.
And on top of that all, this is a creature movie. This is a kind of a crazy. At the end, there were some crazy practical effects that they were doing with this big beast thing. That was real. Like there was some definitely CGI stuff going on, but
no, that was a real creature.
There was like
that was a real creature that exists
that someone made
that they cast.
Oh my god! And that heart that
Yeah.
she had to pull
that
out.
Fire heart gave me very much like Legend of Zelda vibes. Like getting that heart. Yeah, totally.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I mean, let's get into it. Yeah. Let's see what we got with Antlers, huh? From the top.
Make it drop.
That's some antler ass pussy.
Ooh.
There we go.
Yes.
And we start with a poem that is being told and shown to us in like, I don't know what the language was. It seemed like a very like old language that it was being told in. But the poem was essentially something ancient has been awoken, and it's looking for the most depraved and the most weak, and it will destroy you. Hope it doesn't find you.
Pray it doesn't desire you.
Yeah.
That was I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Fuck,
with every
whatever.
Because it was like a 2-liner kind of thing, and it was a very short poem. But every 2 lines, I was just like, oh.
I felt like it was basically it's like Mother Earth is pissed. Mother Earth is back. And you better hope Mother Earth is not coming for you.
And she looks better than ever.
Badder than ever, and ready to rumble.
Mother of Mothers. Which that is another element of this movie that they didn't explore as much as I would have wanted them to. But this idea of, because they mentioned ancestors of the land a couple times. So like the people that were originally there and nature definitely, and how essentially man has come in and disrupted that, and now the ancestors are pissed and they want to come back and they want to punish you for that,
and they're mad.
And what I then made this tie back to these beginning shots when we're seeing a really, really poor town, and a really like, it was at one point an industrial town, but now it's all the factories are closed down. It's super poor.
The mine is closed down.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And it's a very poor small town, which I'm like, all right, so these people came in and like reaped the benefits of the soil and of the land, and now everybody in the town is like getting punished for it because everyone's unemployed. Everyone is like lower class.
Nobody's taking care of each other. The booming kind of job that you can have in this really small town is making meth. And you're making meth in an area which you have ripped a hole through earth, and for no reason. It's like they're no longer mining because there's nothing there.
Yep.
You know?
They reap the soil dry of its fruits.
Yeah.
It's 3 weeks later, and we are
with the teacher.
With the teacher, she's taking a poop.
No, she just
right. No, that's right. She's taking a poop, or she's just on the toilet.
Yes.
We don't know.
You guys sit down to poop.
I heard a plop.
We sit down for everything. A plop.
I heard a plop.
Well, somebody knocked.
I don't think I heard a flush, but whatever.
I mean,
besides the point.
Oh, I was gonna say she didn't wash her hands, but yes,
she did. Yeah, but no, I think she was just like collecting herself, and because she was in the bathroom, and then she has this moment where she looks at herself in the mirror, and she's like just trying to get it together, and then the next scene she's smiling, like she's like trying to hold it together. She's a teacher in class, so she's got to pull it back together.
Suffers from panic attacks. That is a very panic attack moment. I do reclude myself to the bathroom, take a moment to just kind of feel everything out. You do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1
the
kind
senses,
of thing.
yeah.
And then I definitely have to look at myself in the mirror to be like, okay, you are here.
Yeah.
You're fine. And then you fucking splash some water.
She did one of these.
Splash some water on the face.
Like, let's
go.
Got it.
To talk about her character for a second, Julia, which we kind of talked about before, is new back to this town. This is her hometown that she grew up in.
Yep.
She's returned recently to live with her brother, Jesse Plemons, who his name is...
Sheriff Meadows. I think his first name is Sheriff. See, Sheriff.
Paul. His name is Paul.
Yeah.
I was
Paul.
close.
And they've moved back into their childhood house.
It seems like he's been living there.
He's
he
been living
never
there.
left.
And she comes back and to live with him.
I would not. I would not be able to
I don't
live
know.
in a
Yeah,
place
right.
where
How do you do
I've
that?
been fucking
Just-
traumatized,
yeah, right.
you know?
As we learn through the movie, this home has been the site of all her trauma, her abuse from her father, and abuse on both ends, on her and her brother. And she says that she's come back to live with her brother because she missed him. And so, and also the idea that she's a teacher, I think, is kind of interesting too, because she's then surrounding herself with other children who are each going through their own sets of trauma and their own difficulties growing up. She automatically has put herself in a position of
A caretaker.
Helper. She wants to be at the front lines to make sure that other kids don't go through what she has gone through. And so has her brother. Her brother is a sheriff. He's a cop. He wants to help people too after he's gone through whatever he's gone through.
His is more of a kind of repressive kind of job.
It's that old school. Yeah, I mean, I say old school. I feel like it's still.
In both cases, though,
though,
they are looking outward to help other people and not looking at themselves.
Well, that's what
at their own
do
trauma.
when you have trauma. You know,
course.
You try to help others because that makes you feel good, and you don't have to think about yourself. Nope. You're constantly thinking about someone else and putting yourself in their shoes.
I think it's great, though, how this movie has set us up, though, with her having to return home. It's this idea of her having to face her trauma. And so that is kind of her journey through this movie.
I think also because there's moments in where she's fighting to not grab a bottle of alcohol.
Oh my God. So many times.
It definitely speaks volumes. So she definitely also had to get away from her past situations after leaving. She was literally bottling all of her feelings, and then she's having to come home and be near another, like her brother. Like that in itself is therapeutic. Like having somebody that is blood related to you.
Imagine going to therapy at the place that caused so much of the reasons that you need to go to therapy. Like literally the piano is still in that house.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
And the brother recognizes.
The brother recognizes.
He knows that piano is a piece of trauma.
Yeah. Right. And he's like,
he's like, I can move that.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't do it. Which, I mean...
You have to, when...
Yeah, right. It's just part of that. She's decided to face this and to not hide it, and she's talking about how she'll want to move out of their old house, telling her brother, that she won't stay there for very long. And I mean, it was just an interesting little bit of dynamic that just made it. They performed it really well. It felt very real. I mean, it felt like something you would say to someone if you came home and you don't want to be feeling like you're putting your siblings out or anything like that. And I mean, of course, Jesse Plemons is like Sheriff Meadows is like, no, just stay. I'm just happy to see you.
He's like, I'm not telling you to go. And she the whole time is coming back and apologizing. She just keeps apologizing to him.
Literally apologize for everything.
Yeah.
There's these scenes multiple times where, oh God, there was this one scene that I thought was so interesting, and now knowing the full scope of the movie, it's even more interesting. Where she goes to the piano multiple times, and we hear this piano thing, and she's then reliving the abuse that she went through with her father. And then there's that scene where she's sitting at the piano and her father comes out of the shadow from behind her and puts his hand around her neck and just starts choking her. And the trauma is just coming more and more. And then the brother scares her out of it. And he's wearing the same exact outfit that the father was wearing in her fantasy trauma.
God.
And I was just like, because she obviously associates him with the father and the trauma that they went through. And it's just like this, everything in that house is just bringing her closer and closer to facing her problems, and she says that multiple times. She says, I'm trying to fix my problems.
If it feels like we're focusing so much on that, I think it's because, like, even though this movie starts with that whole thing about Mother Earth, it feels so much about trauma the whole time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It just feels so much about it. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, even when she's, you know, I don't know, it's, you know, it gives it to you almost in every single scene. Even, you know, when she's teaching that first class and she's just talking about storytelling, it's like, it focuses inevitably on her and Lucas. You've got this little kid raising their hand, like, desperately trying
Fucking
to...
Hermione Granger.
I know,
in the front.
Hermione Granger over here is trying to talk about... The
have
question
the
was,
answer.
like, identify fairy tales.
Yeah, name
You know,
a fairy tale.
name a fairy
That's it,
tale. And
yeah.
so she's, you know, ready to talk, you know, spews off a million facts about Goldilocks in, like, 2 seconds. And Julia, the teacher, is just trying to focus in on Lucas, and, like, it's very much just immediately about her and them, and, you know very quickly as the viewer that it's trauma that kind of links these two, and she kind of recognizes that at the two of them. It's a pretty I don't know. I mean, it's just a reminder of, like, who else is going to notice this kind of thing today? Like, it's a teacher. Like, the teacher spends so much time with kids. Like, you know, we just unless you're doing extracurricular activities, like, that's the other main adult that's seeing you, that's looking after you, and it's
Consistently.
and then tying it back to that first poem about this idea of trauma, even just upon, like, man's trauma on the earth.
Right.
There is still that tie there. It's like the sins of the father then affect the children, you know? So the people that have upset these ancestral beings that are within this earth, it then affects the children. Just like the decisions of these two characters' parents have now affected them. And how are we going to break this cycle of ancestral abuse and ancestral violence, and just this, like, passing down of hate and evil, essentially. So then in this scene, we also do meet Lucas, who will become the main kid character of this story. Got to talk about him for a little bit as well, because he's now currently going through trauma. I think it's great how they make Lucas look. He's dirty, and he's malnourished, clearly. He's small. And the teacher...
He has, pimples all over his body and stuff.
And the teacher automatically recognizes these as signs of abuse and neglect.
This kid's coming to school in, like, the same clothes every day. He's got holes in his shirt.
Yeah. And all the other kids look definitely cleaner than he does. He's like...
Hermione Granger looks like her family feeds her.
Oh, absolutely.
Which, I mean, again...
Sushi every night.
Yeah, I mean, that's the basis. That's good. But,
I'm glad.
I mean, pretty obvious that something is going on with Lucas's family.
Yes.
Hermione's parents
but
are
I think
both dentists.
It's this good...
but good on her for recognizing it.
Good on her for recognizing it, and I think it's creative of the movie to anyone, to any, like, person that isn't automatically thinking about supernatural shit going on at someone's house.
Right.
It's a really good way for her to think that abuse is going on and think that neglect is happening, but it's actually not that at all. But what this movie is talking about still, though, is that. So it's like this, the movie is playing with these ideas and able to present them and show them in these creative ways of then setting it in this supernatural sense. Because what we soon learn is that Lucas is having to return home every day, sometimes picking up roadkill, sometimes murdering skunks with
all
rocks.
The time picking up roadkill.
And that's his food.
It's like a good day if he picks up roadkill. He had to kill that skunk. That skunk was alive.
Yeah. With a big-ass rock.
And Lucas sees it, stops in his track, and I'm thinking what I would think anytime I come on a skunk is run the fuck away.
Yeah.
I'm not going after this thing.
I don't want to be
Lucas
stinky.
sees a skunk, and he sees, I need to kill this and bring it home because it's food. And that's unbelievable. Like,
and at first, I was thinking, oh shit, this kid has to just feed himself.
Right.
But that is not actually the case. He's feeding himself, maybe not sometimes, but mostly feeding his father and his brother who are locked behind this fucking door and are like pounding on it, screaming from behind. And for a while, we don't even see what they look like. And he's just deathly afraid. She goes to his home and gets to the door, doesn't go in, but she hears the grunting and like the pounding. And she doesn't go in, but she knows something's wrong. This is like another thing, another trigger and red flag for her to be like, something is wrong here. Like, I know someone's there, but something is bad.
And also, it's never a good image to have what seems like an overrun kind of house. There's just like broken down cars everywhere around, and like it hasn't been kept up. It looks like it's dark in there. It doesn't look
Lucas
lively.
is doing his best, okay?
He's trying, man.
Well, and it's interesting too.
Lucas actually has the house looking okay.
Considering
all things considering he's 12 years old.
Well, and I think it's...
But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, obviously.
Interesting in this time too, because Lucas does return, and every time that it's not, like, there's no lights on ever. And I realized, I was like, why doesn't he turn on the lights ever? But then I realized, holy shit.
No one's paying the bills.
No one's paying the electric bills. So they just shut off their power.
Yeah.
And he's not getting any water because they probably shut off his water. And he obviously doesn't have any money to get food. So
shout out free school lunches.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now.
Free school lunches.
That,
and that's why I was like, holy shit, that's the only reason that he's going to school. Is he's going to be able to get a free lunch.
Yeah,
which
that's true.
And he brings home some of it to his...
Yeah, he's only eating half of it. He's feeding the rest to his little brother.
Which, this next scene, we get the reveal of he opens the locked door for the first time. He's got this, it's at night, he's got this headlamp on, and that's the only light that we get in this scene. And he sets out this tray of these two different boxes, and he just like kind of pushes it out, and just through the little headlamp, we see his like fucking animalistic father coming up and just like
he's like Smeagol. He's like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
His hair is thin as hell, and he's sweaty and he's gray and he's pale.
His veins are like black purple all around.
Yeah. He's acting like an animal. He's grunting. He's eating his food like ravagely.
Yeah.
Which this was the roadkill, and he grabbed all the guts and just cut them up.
Yeah, he had to feed him.
It was so bad.
It was so bad.
It was so disgusting.
And then
every time they came on Roadkill, I'm like, no, like I get it. I get it. Like, you don't have to do this again. And then I don't want to see this anymore.
The saddest part is then his little brother comes out of the darkness and he's normal. He's like, I mean, he has like normal-ish.
Normal-ish. If all of you, if you want to call it, no, you're right. He's got hair. He's got hair. And
he's walking like a normal child.
He's walking like a normal child. Now his veins are all out to his skin.
Black veins.
Just like
gray skin.
Again, that tunneling thing. You know, you see those, you see the veins and all that.
It goes back to like the drug stuff and all that kind of stuff. And his meal is the other half of
his school lunch.
Of Lucas's school lunch
like,
that he saved for him.
And half-eaten apple and some French fries.
Yeah, and that's all he can have for him.
So sad.
And that's when it's like, oh my god, you're taking care of your normal-seeming, normal-acting brother while your father is literally turning into a monster right in the corner over there. And oh my god, that's really the scene where it sets in. Holy shit, Lucas has really got a lot in his plate right now.
So much.
He's having to provide for his family. He's getting through.
He's getting through somehow.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just but sadly, like, it isn't. It's not like kids like Lucas don't exist. Like there are people who have to, who there are kids who have to do way more than they ever should have to take care of their family.
And also, there's so many kids also that their school lunch is the only lunch they have.
Right. And I think that's why this movie this is such a smart tie. Yeah. That is real. Like, everything that the teacher is witnessing that this child has to go through is completely real to the world. But then we're putting it in this supernatural context. And it's just this very real and smart way that this movie is telling stories of so many kids through a horror movie.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like tying it in through Julia's perspective grounds this film in our world.
It makes it relatable.
It like Julia is a real person that exists. Like her, those are such real problems, and the results that Lucas has to deal with, where he's he's showing up to school so he can get his lunch, and he's taking on more than he should. Like that's if it just focused on Lucas, it would just be a supernatural film,
right?
And it would be, I think, relying on like. I guess I would, it'd be relying on those jump scares. It'd be, it'd be something where you expect like, you expect someone to come in and finally tell you how to kill this beast, and then they do it, and that's the movie, and that's it. Instead, like, you are grounded in the real world thanks to like tying in Julia, thanks to bringing in her perspective. Stop me if I'm going to, but we get okay, cool.
No, I'm just kidding.
So we get Principal Elbow Pads. Who makes a visit to...
Yeah, because Julia went to the principal after going to the house and was like, I'm absolutely, completely concerned. She shows her Lucas's drawings, which are horrifying.
Great artist.
Great artist.
Really?
Yeah.
Solid artist.
Black and blood red. Like, that's all it is things being ripped apart. And she's like, as a person who has seen and gone through trauma... These are all the signs of trauma.
Yeah.
And we need to do something.
And the principal was like, well, are you an expert?
She said
I'll
word.
talk to his father.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, shut up.
It was
First of all, like, okay, if you ever has studied art, it's not like fucking Lucas just like grabbed a crayon and just like filled in, in between the lines. They were fucking strokes, of anger, of anxiety, like they were deep embedded into the fucking
you
paper.
see him, he's just like
every single drawing. So
but every kid here is struggling. That's essentially what she says.
She's like, every kid is struggling.
Yeah. So you know what?
It's like
we don't have enough money.
It's like it's the
and it goes back to kind of that though. She does say she blames the financial issue, which goes back to this poor town. They don't have the resources to care about one child, which is bullshit, whatever. Like, they should be focusing on that, but she blames it on that.
And it's not like everybody is not aware who Frank is and what he's doing.
Yeah.
And at one point, Paul is like, I can't arrest Frank because what? I'm going to go grab him, take him to jail, put him in there forever, and then who's going to take care of the children?
So Paul says to Julia, so, I mean, like, jumping around a little bit, but, like, Paul and Julia have a conversation about Lucas, about what's going on with him, and Paul says, he's like, I've tried to do this, exactly what you said, Leslie. He's locked him up, he's put him in there. The system has decided that Frank is suitable enough as a father, and that these kids don't have any other option.
It's this interesting thing, too, of, like, I'm not condoning making meth at all or bringing your children to make meth, but we are.
I feel like butt is doing a lot of heavy lifting
hold on, but we are in a very poor, and this is also reality, too, like, poor, lower class places almost have no choice sometimes, so, like, this is what they were pushed to make a buck. Like, how else is the father supposed to make money? And this is one of the only options that he can find to provide for his children.
He has two children. They have no mother. In this really poor town. And like Paul said, man, it's so hard. It's so sad. No one is going to want to take these kids in.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have the money financially either, but also they are kids of a drug dealer. They don't know what kind of problems they have themselves.
Yeah.
And then bringing a child like that is a lot of work, in which is something that got brought up at the very end of the film. It's like we're raising a cub, a tiger cub.
You don't know.
You don't know what's going to happen and how they're going to grow up because of all the fucked up things that he's had to live through.
principal, to her credit, you know, she really dismisses a lot of what the teacher is saying, but to her credit, she does go to the house to check up on Frank and the kids.
Yes, but how much of a dumbass do you have to be to go through a door that doesn't have 1, 2, 3 locks? You're out, and that's
it raises a fair question of how many locks have to be on a door for you to think whatever's on the other side of this, I'm gonna at least get some backup.
At this point, I just said, do not open the door. Call the police. And then I said, oh no. And then I said, what the fuck?
Yeah. I think the oh no was her going up into the attic and finding little Aiden. And then the what the fuck was her being attacked from behind by the father.
Oh, I didn't think we were going to see it.
Oh, we saw it.
Oh, we saw it.
He takes a chomp out of her fingers, and then he takes a couple chomps out of her neck and face, like just eating her face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is such a personal
I'm really
thing.
grateful they weren't paying the electric bill. You know,
Yeah,
that like
true.
it made sense
We
for
didn't
the
have to
plot
see
that
it.
like we didn't have the lights on. It was like a very dark situation. You just kind of hear it.
You just hear
and
it.
you I mean, it didn't sound good, but I'm
No.
glad, just for my own imagination, when I go to sleep tonight, like I didn't see that technically.
Too much.
Yeah,
As
I
much.
saw like just enough to like be like freaked out, but not so much that it was like, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
Glad they weren't paying the light bill.
This part where he's got the red coming out of his fucking chest, and then his
Like,
mouth is like, ah! And then like I thought it was like bark, like a tree coming out of
Looks like
his
a tree bark,
his mouth, and then it like comes out so much that it splits his jaw, just like
Split that,
open.
split that. What initial thing got our demigod to finally come out of the human? It was definitely being hosted within, you know, and growing stronger and fonder.
Later, they go to this guy who talks about like the legend of this creature, and the story is that it was a really harsh winter, and this guy was locked in his house, and he turned to cannibalism to stay alive, essentially. But then he got this insatiable hunger for human flesh, and he essentially went crazy with this bloodlust, which he then got so crazy that he was then transformed into a creature. So I think it's kind of just repeating that process of eating meat, eating humans, and this is the first human that we see him eat too.
Yeah,
that's true.
And
that's
besides
a good point.
the first one,
Lucas had basically staved this off by taking the roadkill and doing all of that. I mean, possibly, right? I don't understand how this stuff works.
And also, another question that I had: if it was craving human meat, then why didn't it kill Aiden?
Because I think he also recognized this was another host of the god,
potential.
and also he didn't kill Lucas because he knew that this was the thing that was bringing him food.
Yeah,
he needed him.
I mean, I thought of it as kind of a sense. There was a lingering sense of family.
Yes,
there was a lingering recognition that this is your own flesh and blood.
She knows something's wrong. She goes to his house and she finds the principal's car, which that's enough to get a warrant faster for sure.
Yep.
And then Sheriff Jesse Plemons finally coming into the house and discovering this attic, and it's just first he finds the dead principal who's all like
just completely
chewed
mangled
up and completely mangled.
Yeah.
And then he finds this fucking
husk
of
a human. Yeah,
it's just ripped open.
It is ripped open. There's no face. There's no face.
There's no face.
Yeah. So like, I'm currently DMing a campaign with my friends. I 100% would have made every single character roll a will check as soon as they came up on this, and if they failed it, at least they're throwing up. Like at the very, it was so gross. Oh my god.
It was pretty bad.
This husk. It was he molted. He shed his old skin.
That's my sick daddy. My new daddy is running around.
Is what Lucas says. Lucas says it like he got a new iPhone.
He's
like, he's like, that's my old dad. That
Out with
melted
the
husk
old
over
and
there.
with the new.
That's my old dad.
It ran.
My-
it
my-
ran really slow. It got
my-
really
yeah.
hot when it was running too many apps.
My new dad got the software upgrade,
Yeah,
and
I
now
got the
he
new
has
ISO.
a lot of antlers.
He has the new emojis.
And they take Lucas to the hospital, and the doctor's like, "Yo, this kid is effed up, dehydrated,
Deeply-
malnourished.
He said,
physically disturbed, mentally disturbed."
what did he say?
They're talking
Deeply
to-
damaged boy.
Yeah,
They're talking about it too, and this is something that always I just feel like it sucks about hospitals. Like they're talking about Lucas like he's not there.
right.
Lucas is in the hospital bed, and this doctor is out in the hallway, but he's a loud doctor.
Yeah, he can hear what they're talking.
Yeah, like this doctor's just like, well, this kid's pretty messed up. He's suffered a lot of abuse. He's malnourished. I'm like,
He's delusional.
All right,
fucked up.
hey, buddy, like, come on, like, this
Have some
kid,
respect.
this kid, so Lucas can hear all of that, and it doesn't get any attention. It just sucked to watch.
Yeah.
Lucas just has to.
He's going through his trauma.
Lucas is hearing this doctor just callously list off all these things to him, and it just sucks. And then Jesse Plemons is like, well, when can I interview him? The sheriff, when can I interview this
This
kid?
kid's a
I'm
business.
like, oh my God, why is this it sucks that this is the system that we have for dealing with people who are just hurting and just
I've
need
heard
a compassionate ear to someone to listen to them and just be there to support them. This kid's not getting it. Now, granted, that doctor lends the official support, the official view that confirms everything that Julia's been saying from the start.
Very true.
Confirms everything Julia's been saying from the start. And finally,
who is equipped from this point on to take care of a child who's gone through this much fucking trauma? How are you equipped if you're not a fucking psychologist yourself?
I
I
think that also her point in this scene is that who else except us that have been through trauma ourselves are we are the only people that might be able to help this kid, and because we know partly the trauma that we went through and we could hopefully help. I think that's what she wants.
Yeah.
But he's still in this point of not accepting or facing his trauma. And I love this scene too, because this is the first scene where at least for me, I thought about, holy shit, he was in that house too.
Right.
This
is when he says it.
You don't know what he did to me.
This is
and it's like,
what Jesse
oh my
Plemons
God,
says.
He has gone through his own trauma, and this is how he's been dealing with it.
Because it is so rare for someone to just be so focused on abusing one person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You are abusing everybody else in that household.
This is an abusive person. This is what they do.
This is what they do. They needed help. They probably got abused themselves,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So we saw an image of him naked. The dad is naked on Julia's bed.
Oh my
probably
God.
the moment she left home. And he was just crying there, hugging her teddy bear.
Naked in her childhood bed, crying. Ew.
Yeah.
Ew. And I didn't know when we saw that could have been real, but I was almost thinking that was her crying in bed, but she was also seeing her father in herself, so that's why she put her father's image in her bed, in her memory, and she doesn't want to end up like her father, and all this kind of it was a very fucked up image, for sure.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if it was real or not, and if it was real, that's fucked up. If it wasn't real, that's fucked up too.
All of it.
There's so many effed up things. And I mean, for me, like I said at the beginning, I'm a bit of a novice with horror genre, and so I don't know. I guess if I were to put it on a grading scale, I guess I wonder what you guys think. In terms of fucked up imagery, where does this movie rank for you guys? There was some really messed up shit that made it in here that made me think. I just associated this movie with Guillermo del Toro. Because that was the name I recognized of the directing crew, of the writing crew, of the production crew. that was the name I recognized. So I'm like, what the fuck is this guy's mind? Like,
I feel like he was there solely for the creation of the monsters.
Sure.
And,
He loves monsters.
Yeah,
Okay.
the monsters and then the molting.
This is what I'll say about Guillermo del Toro movies, though, is every single one that I've watched, amazing monsters, amazing
This
visual,
is an amazing monster.
cool
This is
monsters.
Totally.
But everything is then tied within like actual real villains and monsters that are in our lives and trauma that we deal with. He does an amazing job of making a monster movie that's way more than just
saying
the
a
monster
little bit more than
that
just
we're seeing.
Yeah.
He makes it look
talks.
easy, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, I can watch this movie and I can make sense of everything he said, which makes me feel smart as the viewer that I can, like, piece together this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that is so challenging as a creator to, like, put together this fantastical monster and tie it in a way that feels real to all of these other things that would feel like it would feel less like horror in a supernatural sense and just brutal depictions of like the worst of domestic relationships, right? Like that I think of drama when I think of the latter. And again, maybe it's because I'm sort of a novice with the horror genre, but like for him to be able to tie something as like wicked as this antler beast to that is pretty exceptional. Like kudos to that team for putting something like this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with the horror genre, you definitely can be a little bit more realistic when it comes to concepts of trauma.
Yeah.
Because what's scarier than that? Trauma or the actual fucking monster?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like,
And what births monsters is trauma.
I mean, truly, after seeing the flashbacks from Julia, those are probably the most troubling things.
Yeah. Oh.
Those are the most. This beast, this monster, is not the scariest thing.
Which
in
I
this
think
movie, except for the jump scares, that got me out of my seat. But
I like jump scare.
I think that's a good point though, because
Yeah.
I think that is she is then our perfect character to face the monster in the end, because in the end she's already faced a monster that is way scarier than what she's about to, and
So
she
true.
becomes, because she's now facing it in this movie. I think she realizes the monster that she's already defeated and gotten away from.
Right.
That now she's strong enough to face this literal god, this demigod,
the little
monster,
demigod,
you know. And so it's perfect that she's the one
she
to
gets
come
help
in
from
and
Lucas
save the
too,
kid,
but
you know.
she
And
gets help
Lucas
from Lucas,
is there too.
It's such a good point that it's the two people who are like, if there's something you can say about Lucas, maybe his art's a little fucked up, if brilliant and like
Of
really
course.
good. Man, he
Strong.
did not run away from this.
Strong.
I feel like as a kid, like I tried a few times. It's impossible to put yourself in that mindset of what that must be like to have your father turn into a supernatural being.
Yeah,
You haven't
that's tough.
experienced
Yeah, I was like,
That's
I feel like I'm right there.
I haven't been there
I
yet.
feel like I'm right there, but I'm not quite at it.
I mean, I've had
so-
3 different dads.
So, and none of them were supernatural beasts.
I mean,
Possibly.
Jury's still out.
Yeah, jury's still out. But anyway, like, dude, first off, he's still going to school. I'm like, I don't know. Like,
he's
I'm
just
like,
haunted. He's
I'm
just like,
like, yeah, but he's showing up. He's showing up, and he actually, Julia presses him to tell a story one time in class, and he actually does it.
Yeah.
And he tells like a pretty good story.
yeah.
About like what he's doing, like he's not just showing up physically, like he is engaged, sort of, as well as he can be. He's facing this head on too, and it's such a good point about like the people who end up being the heroes in the story are the ones who were able to face their trauma head on.
Yes.
And they were the only ones capable who weren't completely paralyzed by fear when it came to actually facing this monster, this demigod. Such a great point. I'm so glad that you made that connection, because I hadn't yet. I don't know. I just hadn't made that connection, but that's a great point.
And what we have those two characters, and then Jesse Plemons, also a character that has gone through trauma, has put himself in this position of protecting people, being a cop,
Yeah.
And we have this scene where they finally discover the bully's body, and he sees how fucked up the body is. I think that's his moment of accepting that he actually doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
He isn't in control. He feels like he's in this like controlling like safety protector caretaker.
Yeah.
Well, he's got the sheriff badge.
This
yeah,
is what
right.
shows
badge.
that I can do it. Yeah, I can do this. And then he's seeing all this crazy shit, and he finally sees the bully's body, and that's the scene where he accepts that I don't know what's going on.
That scene
don't know.
Is so powerful because the first moments in which people had to discover and coin the word serial killer, you know, they could not even fathom that there could be a person who was killing all these people, you know, and they're doing it for fucking fun, you know?
Yeah.
So that moment to me related to the many stories that I've heard of like cops or detectives being like, and this is when we knew that it was the same person.
Yeah.
Like we could not comprehend.
Yeah.
We didn't want to think that there could be this option.
So they're holed up in Julia and Jesse's house, and they have this like patrol guy. One patrol officer.
The number two cop.
Guy.
The only person in this story who I believe has maybe led like a solid life.
He's like chill.
Where like he hasn't had to go through that much shit.
Yeah.
He's fine.
He's totally
He's got 2 loving parents. He's got a great brother or sister out there somewhere.
No trauma there.
No trauma. Yeah. Love and life. And he's the one patrolling. And he starts hearing noises out there and gets them to the shed. And once he gets to the shed, oh shit. It's little Aiden.
Little child
in a box.
here.
He's in a little basket.
And
he's crying because that's all Aiden's been doing all movie.
I found a kid. What do I do? What am I supposed to... Oh! Antlers!
That got me so...
Yeah.
I knew it was coming too, and that jump scare scared the fuck out of me. I was so...
They did it well.
I was so... Yeah, it was really good.
I was so
It was
mad
also...
too.
It was not a way that we have seen this beast kill anyone before.
True.
We've always seen them just go... Just... Ow! Just... Ow!
Rabbit.
Eat everybody.
fucking-
And this one just antlers through the back, through the chest. Now, a crucial point to make about the number 2 cop here. Not wearing a Kevlar vest.
No Kevlar pipe.
And that's going to be crucial because when Sheriff Jesse Plemons comes through, he put first off, this movie, a winner in this movie, Kevlar vests.
Definitely.
Okay, Jesse
Save it,
Plemons
people.
puts one on, and that he does literally the same thing. It's like that Geico commercial
He
where
falls
they're
for the
like,
same scheme.
yeah, they're like, let's run for the shed with all the scary tools and shit.
Oh my god,
like,
yeah.
Why don't we
that's
just
what
go to
Jesse
the
Plemons
running
is-
car?
I know, right? Yeah, no. Sheriff Plemons goes right to the scary-looking shed, and literally it's the same deal. Frank the Beast,
Frank Demigod.
Frank the Demigod Frank.
Same scheme.
Yeah,
Hits him from behind.
hits him from behind, but
doesn't pierce him.
doesn't kill him. That Kevlar vest, baby. You
Yeah.
can't just put demigod strength through that.
No way.
Messes up Jesse Plemons big time.
Yeah.
Jesse Plemons like lets off a couple of rounds, doesn't really hit. He's in bad shape. You kind of think the beast is gone. Jesse Plemons is up against the wall. The beast comes back again,
Bangs through the wall.
rails him.
And gets him through like the arm. Like his antler goes through his arm, and he's like pulling him around.
He's in bad shape, and then the demigod is gone.
Yeah, he gets out of there.
And you can see Jesse Plemons, Sheriff Plemons, is still alive. I mean, like this Kevlar vest was just doing the Lord's work. It was.
But guess what happens? Julia, the teacher, falls for the same scheme again.
Everyone comes running. I mean, it's just like
she
everyone
comes
in
up
town.
to the same shed door.
Come on in,
Like,
everybody.
what the hell? I was
What the
like,
heck's
are we
going
about
on
to
in
do this
here?
again?
I know.
Are we really about to do this again?
I literally put
Stop going to the
shed. Just stop it.
Yeah.
So they went back to this mine.
They go back to the
and
mine.
they walked through the door. There was some police tape up, like around our ankles, because that's how you stop someone. You know, you're like, hey, don't go through this door. We're putting caution tape right by your ankles here. You try and go through your cook.
Good luck.
And Julia was like, wow, thank God I can raise my feet above
6
the
inches.
thing. Yeah. Wow, okay.
We did it. I made it in. And then she goes into the deeper tunnel and she finds Lucas and Aiden. And she goes over, finally get a clear view of our monster. And
Eating a bear.
Eating a bear.
It looks tired.
Turns around, and it's got fucking Frank's face.
Oh my god, that was scary. That was one of the most. That was surprising. That was a gruesome.
What it's supposed to. Well, like
face.
Also to relate it to the ritual one, monster. They essentially for its head had a human torso.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like and then on, like it would lift its head and then here had just like these like piercing lights that will let you. I think it like reaches down to your deepest fucking fears and traumas.
Yeah.
I looked on your trauma.
I'm sorry to admit, I did look for a monster dick and balls. I was just curious, like what's going on down there. It felt like there was a loincloth situation going on.
Okay, somewhat modest,
tasteful, I guess, on the part of the directors.
Fair.
I mean, or it was just all tree bark. I couldn't really tell. It was only on the screen for like this long, but I looked.
Oh, this long? Yikes! Yikes!
It was only on the screen for like this long. I don't know.
Whoa.
I don't know what the situation was, but I just wanted to say for anyone at home,
just so we know.
But
this is the first view of the monster that we did,
TBD.
And it's a pretty cool monster.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. I like it's mostly practical for sure. Very cool that someone built that thing.
If there were it's like, I mean, try to think of how you would make a being out of just antlers.
Yeah.
It's
right?
very
Like it's kind of
antlery, very wood-like.
I definitely got antlers out of the vibe of this monster.
Yes.
So like from a simple, you know, the baseline goal achieved.
Yes. Got it.
But
got the antlers
with Frank's face.
Yeah.
On that was wild.
Ooh,
I was
that
not
was
expecting
creepy.
that.
Cool.
Like that actually got me going a little bit. That was like
got you going.
I was like, woo! Whoa!
What ultimately does get him down though is Lucas from behind with the flare.
With a flare.
He shoves the flare in there.
Right in the heart. Right in the heart.
Oh boy! And it goes down, and then Julia's gotta be the one to.
Julia cuts out the heart.
Cut out the heart, and
it's on fire.
It's on fire, so her hands are kind of burning, and she looks at Lucas, and you hear Aiden start to scream like a monster.
You know that,
like,
oh my god, Aiden's about to turn.
That was like...
Because that is an element of this movie, because Aiden has been sick this whole time. Yeah. And you know that we've seen what's happened to the father. Deep down, we know that that's going to happen to Aiden too.
Yep.
It's this other moment of generational trauma that just passed down to the son, and he's not going to get better. Aiden, Lucas is pleading with her. He's like, he'll get better, I promise. He'll get better, I promise. And she's like, no, he's not going to. You have to. I need you to tell me that you understand that. You understand that he is not going to get better.
There's no way that kid understood it at that point. There's no way that he understood it. That is the part of the movie I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, it gives this sense of, I don't know, like finality to even being a child who's just subjugated to this stuff, and like. I don't know. I don't know about that part. I was like, really? He's irredeemable?
I think that they are trying to reinforce this idea of the sins of the father being passed down, whether, no matter how hard you try, the trauma being passed down to a child can happen.
Right.
But I think because Lucas doesn't kill Aiden. He's not the one that kills Aiden.
He can't do it.
Julia is the one that has to kill Aiden. And I think that she herself has gone through trauma and is maybe, quote unquote, fucked up forever because of this trauma. Yeah. And she's the one that chooses to kill Aiden and stop this cycle. And she is almost sacrificing herself to do this horrible act. So Lucas doesn't have to be the one to do it. And hopefully save this kid from having even worse trauma in the future.
Because, like, she is an adult, you know, and he's a child, and he still has time to make better decisions that she has made, like you said.
Hashtag adulting.
Hashtag adulting.
You know,
adulthood.
She takes up that sword.
Listen, right? Yeah, none of us want to do it, but you know, sometimes you have to kill a kid.
And
Yikes! Wow!
Sometimes you gotta kill a kid.
Wow!
Quote of the day. Quote of the day.
Whoa!
How this movie ends is a perfect way because she's done everything that she can to protect this kid mentally and physically.
Yep.
And then the end of this movie is them still asking that question of, did we save him? Are we just raising a kid that is going to become fucked up and
like
going to be exactly the same as us and his father?
Yeah.
Are we just raising a tiger cub? And so it leaves it kind of open to that, where can we save the next generation? I think this last moment that we get of the movie where they walk off and, you know, Lucas and Julia are kind of happy, and then we have Jesse Plemons kind of coughing up.
Coughs up.
He
Not
coughs up
blood.
that
Not blood.
black
This what this black shit is.
That the stuff that was infecting Frank and Aiden. And we know that it lives on. And that is now reinforcing this idea of he's gone through trauma. He is now a victim to this other trauma, and he is going to now become a monster, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah.
That...
Because he's fucking repressing it.
Because he's repressing it. And now he's
not
coughing up this blackness, this shit that he's been swallowing this whole movie. And I think it's perfect that he's the character now at the end where we're left, holy shit, now he's going to become the monster because he's been swallowing all this trauma.
Right.
All right. Let's get to this.
Smash
Pumpkins.
Smash Pumpkin ratings. Mike, let's start with you. What do you think? Out of 5 Smash Pumpkins, we do go down to like 0.1, 0.2, so you can do like 5.1, or not 5.1, 4.1, 3.1. Yeah, you can go to 10ths. Don't go to 100ths.
Gotta be above a 4. I mean, I actually really feel like the storytellers did a good job with this story.
Sure.
Like, that's, for me, I just always think about anything I'm taking in, you know, anything I'm watching or listening to, it's like, what is the artist trying to say? How well did they say it?
Mm-hmm.
If any of the people behind this show are listening and are like, yo, this was not about trauma at all, bro, please holler.
Please holler.
I feel like this was very much about that. What you discussed, Sam, I mean, that was probably my true takeaway from this movie. And just how hard it can be to face your trauma, but how essential it is to face the things that harmed you in your life, or the things you're maybe not proud of, like to face that and to be better from it, to learn from those things. Like, it's so important, and I feel like that's what they were trying to say. So I'd say, I don't know, 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah, let me say 4.5.
4.5. That's a big one. That's a good rating.
Yeah,
it's a very good rating. Nice. Very cool.
I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this movie. I really enjoyed the conversations we had about trauma itself, the monsters, Guillermo del Toro.
Thank you, Guillermo. You are always
amazing.
Christ, dude.
So I'm giving it a 4.7.
4.7.
Can I do a 4.8? Is this Price is Right rules?
You going 4.8? All right. Change it to 4.8.
No, I'll say it at 4.5. What's...
You sure?
I think you were just scared to give it that high, right?
I didn't want to come in hot. All right.
It's what you feel.
All right, I'm doing a 4.8.
4.8.
Yeah.
Leslie's got a 4.7. Very
Yes.
cool. Very cool. Fair.
Yeah, the acting was phenomenal.
It was a really good job. I love Jesse Plemons. Carrie Russell was
great.
We talked about the two adults a lot, but
The
the
kid.
Boy, Lucas was so good.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Lucas was
He was
so
hunting.
good.
He was so hunting, and you could see that he was carrying this weight and this sadness, you know, and it was so hard to see that. You just wanted.
It broke your heart.
I wanted to.
It broke your heart watching that movie. And watching his
I'm like,
scenes.
somebody grab him and hug him.
Well,
I actually don't stay away from the child, but also hug him.
And we talked about it too when we were watching it. Just like, this kid, like, only a kid could be suited to go through that because kids are just adaptive. Like, they just take in
They abide.
what's given to,
Children
like,
abide.
kids will adapt.
The
Kids
last
will just amaze you, and so it had to be that he was a kid being able
the
to
movie
do
that we
which
watched
broke
last
your heart.
week,
Yeah.
Leslie and I watched The Night of the Hunter, which is this 1955 movie, but it was all about children overcoming massive, massive trauma and being haunted by the trauma of the father. It was their father that had put them in a situation where they then had to survive.
Dude, you gotta be careful if you're a
So-
dad.
It was,
Gotta be careful if you're a dad.
Bad-
Your kid's gonna
We've
grow
had a
up.
bad. We've had a bad
Yeah.
couple of dad
You have,
movies.
yeah,
the
you
last,
have, yeah,
the last couple of
you're a
movies.
bad
I'm
dad.
great.
Listen, your kid might just
I'm
not
mom.
love you when they grow up. They might just go and make an amazing horror film about how bad of a dad you
True
were.
that.
Like,
But I think that the thing that we take away, the thing you take away from it is just that these children are. It becomes more believable when these children are the one to rise above some of these things because they are naive, they're innocent, and they abide. They push forward, and that I think comes through so clearly with this main
Lucas,
actor, little
with
kid,
Lucas, yeah.
so good, and that is also a testament to Scott Cooper, who is the director of this movie,
Oh my
to be
gosh,
able to
yeah.
get this kid to that level,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and get this kid to portray that, like, incredible job, and then having these adult characters also portray what is the result of trauma and what this kid is going through. So well done. And it's not in your face too much. Like, we've only talked about essentially trauma in this episode, but the movie doesn't present it pushed in your face so much where I'm like, okay, I get it. It leaves these like nice little breadcrumbs for us to pick up and talk about, and each breadcrumb has so much weight.
Hansel and Gretel, that's
Hansel
a
and Gretel.
myth.
Another fairy
Fairy tale.
tale.
Another fairy
Yeah.
tale.
And so
Myth. It's a myth. The children were not real.
they weren't real.
Okay. You don't know that, but sure.
What the hell? But it really feels like a movie where if I watched it again, I would find even more things within it,
100%.
which I always hold really high when we're talking about these movies. Is the watchability. Is like, I feel like if I watch this again, I will notice even more things that the director is throwing in there to clue us into the message of this movie and the morals and where it's going, and it's a very deep movie.
I bet the cinematographer's so pissed we never brought up the cinematography.
And it's great.
They're like, God, we did our best! You
And
know?
it's great too. Really.
It's
it
really good.
Is great.
It's really good.
The darkness
The
of this
framing
movie,
of all these shots.
the trap, like the setting too becomes a big part of it, and this trappedness that we have with the fog, and it's like everything is working very well in this movie together.
They did
and even when I was watching it through, I was like, I don't know how high I didn't think I was going to rate this movie as high as I'm going to rate it because of the discussion, So it gave us a lot to talk about, and I'm going to give this movie a 4.7 as well. 4.7. It's very highly rated. It's
I'm glad I raised up to a 4.8. I'm glad I did.
And it's fair. I think we have to see what trauma we're going to go through next week.
Oh shit!
We got to pick another movie for next week.
Oh shit!
And Mike, that's your job.
Oh, that's my job. All right, let me get my Dorito fingers on this.
You get to
my
get your
Dorito
little Cheeto fingers on there. Let's see what we got.
You can dig in as far as you want.
Find a good one that you feel, and then when you pull it out, read the description first before you read the title, and then we'll try to guess what movie it is. All right,
he normally gets it right.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what we got. Read the log line first.
Two lighthouse keepers tried to maintain their sanity while living on a remote and mysterious New England island.
Yeah!
I've seen clips from the lighthouse, and I'm jealous that I may not be the one to watch it with you both. But that is from what I've seen, that's an excellent movie.
Oh boy,
it's very
fucking
great.
Oh boy, we got a lot to talk about.
I had, when I went to go see it in theaters, no idea what we were getting ourselves into. I'd not seen the trailer, like I mentioned prior to recording. I don't see trailers because I want to have a fresh perspective. And the whole time I was just like, what? Like, this is great.
God.
Okay,
You guys know
anyways.
Willem Dafoe? His
Do I
real
know
name-
him personally? No.
No, his name is actually William. He just changed it to Willem.
Willem? That's fair.
That's
That's okay.
I thought, you know what, that cheapened Willem Dafoe for me.
Will Dafoe?
You know, just so you know, to cue you in, most actors' names are not their real names.
No,
Just so you know.
Stop it! Stop it!
It's a
Reese
stage-
Witherspoon. You know Reese Witherspoon. Her stage name is both of her parents' last names.
So
Reese
is she a liar?
Witherspoon.
Do you not watch any movies of hers?
No, I watch all of the Reese Witherspoon.
Good. Because
No,
Legally Blonde is incredible.
I love Willem Dafoe. I just think about it sometimes and feel a
Oh,
little
baby,
bit like I've
this
been
is
lied
and
to.
this is some fucking good Willem Dafoe. This is some
I-
good acting.
Really, from what I've seen, it's really great. And Robert Pattinson too.
Oh, yeah.
Come
I
on.
mean,
We are
I don't
about
want
to
to
get
brag,
it.
but I feel like I chose a good enough one where maybe I get invited back.
You will. You absolutely will.
I mean, definitely,
You're coming
unfortunately,
back, Mike.
not
I
next week,
fucked
but
up by
definitely.
spoiling the end of the movie, but I hope everyone will forgive me.
No, you're done. You're finished.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Well, this was great,
yeah.
you guys.
Swan song here.
Indeed, yes.
Well,
indeed.
thank you, Mike, for joining us on this journey.
Yes.
Please plug yourself.
At Mike Tish 226 is the Insta handle.
Mhm.
TISH, so no C in there, not like the New York school or whatever it is.
No way.
But yeah, I mean, I don't post a whole lot on Insta, so I don't know. Anyway, shout out WBBM, shout out Chicago Documentaries, a whole group of Chicagoans who are just keeping people informed. So at Shy Documentaries, you
Love
just
it.
want to know what's going on in Chicago, you got to follow Shy Documentaries. Like you just got to do it. That's it.
I agree.
Follow them on Twitter. Follow me on Insta.
Go.
For I don't know, maybe I honestly
fun.
I'm on private.
His dog is
I'm like-
cute.
Yeah, wait, what's Kona's?
The Queen Kona.
Thank you.
Queen with 3 E's.
Queen.
Of course. She is
Queen Kona.
unlike no other queen.
That's
so-
the one you're gonna want to follow. I don't post all the time, but when I do, it's good.
Great.
Oh, it's gold.
Amazing.
Cutie patootie. Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Color Me Leslie.
And me at Beep Beep Richie T, and also the Deadlights Pod. That is us.
That's us.
Also, check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we are recording at.
We definitely
And until next time,
sneaky peeky.
let's get spooky, y'all.
Ooh.
I am going to be a tree guy that comes out of your throat.